So, let's open this up. So I had seen this. So this was the tail end of a video where this guy, he's like a professor.
Not all the way over there, just one line, just one line.
Okay, so this guy, I think, was a previous professor at this school, and I don't know what happened. I think maybe his views on things, he got fired or he left because he realized he didn't like have free speech in a sense. Anyways, so he was asking this guy and another dude about I think it was are there only two genders, or is it wrong to ask something about genders? And so this is the tail end of that video continuing into this one, which I haven't seen. So yeah.
I guess if they told me how many genders specifically there were, I can't think of anything that would change my opinion.
What he does is basically, if you've ever seen a Jubilee video, let's see. Jubilee. So Jubilee has like this game where they have like multiple lines on the floor, and in the middle everyone's neutral, and then if you go one way you like disagree, strongly disagree, or like somewhat disagree, disagree, strongly disagree, and then you like somewhat agree, agree, and strongly agree. And like Jubilee does this on the regular, and I don't think they ever get into trouble. But this teacher, he's kind of doing the same thing, and
Opinion, I guess. But
go somewhere else. You're not wanted here.
Oh, you're giving me the finger? Hi.
Oh, you're standing in
I'm
front
standing
of
in
a
front of the social work
work.
building.
Did you know that? You're harming individuals by asking that question. Oh,
I'm harming individuals by asking that question. Well, you want to come down and have a conversation about it?
how
Why
do
do you
you
want to come
know?
down and have a conversation? Oh.
that's
Okay, so what would it take for
Wait,
you?
we're all going down to disrupt you? Is that what it said? First she says, no, I have a class to go to.
Oh.
And then she says, we're going to all come down and disrupt you.
Okay, so what would it take for you to move to the strongly agree?
In this man's class, after a long, controversial 10 weeks of lectures in this giant auditorium on the final day, he posed a question to the students. He says, if anybody has disagreed with anything I've said over the last 10 weeks, come down and sit in this chair in a spotlight in the middle of the auditorium. Here's a platform. Tell me to my face. Which I'm glad I was the only one who walked down and you gave me an A.
Smart.
Excuse me. Hi, I'm so curious about what's happening.
Oof. I'm already getting a vibe from this lady. Just off of like, I don't know if this is me being judgmental, but just off of her sweater vest. And like her holding the tumbler, and she's got like, I don't know, just a look about her.
Oh, it's a critical thinking game.
Okay, so see how he has those lines on the ground, the taped lines? On this whiteboard, you can't see it right here, but he has like a question. And I think it was, are there only two genders or something like that? Or there are only two genders.
We take a look at claims and you step on a line you want to play.
Well,
You want to watch the game played?
well, we were watching from up there actually because we happened to see the sign from up in the School of Social Work, which is on the 6th floor, and some of our trans students saw the statement. There are only two genders.
Well, thanks for coming down to talk.
It was pretty activating and upsetting not knowing the context. We thought it was sort of.
This lady right here with the lanyard, the way she's moving and her nodding her head, I feel like she's gonna be a problem.
A statement that was being made.
She looks like she's ready for a fight. She looks like she's about to fucking go ravenous.
But not a thought exercise necessarily.
Would you like to see how the game is played?
No.
No. I think we
Is
understand
it something that
Yeah.
should be a game, though?
an exercise? You want to use the
Oh, look at the other mob that just showed up behind them, all wearing masks.
you want to use defund the police as one?
Well, just thinking about what it looks like.
Yeah.
What does it look like
to
to
the
see
whole
like
community.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 white men with a sign that
This guy knows he's white, right? Why is he emphasizing their skin color?
says there's only 2 genders. You could have been like the Westboro Baptist Church for all.
What is white? Why did you identify
Yeah, what does white have to do with it?
us on the basis of our race?
Well, are you the best people to be hosting that dialogue?
What? White people can't ask? Is there only 2 genders? I'm confused. What?
About
No, but you.
Be representative of that community.
Okay, but I asked you a question. Why did you identify me and these people on the basis of their
back to
race?
what it looks like, right? Kind of like the activating, triggering aspect of it.
Oh, the activating and triggering. So being white and asking a question, which this gentleman is also white, to my knowledge, he might identify as Asian or black. I don't fucking know. People nowadays can identify as whatever they want.
So you think that it's morally acceptable to identify people on the basis of their race?
It's not a moral question. It's a matter of like the fact
It's
that
just
those
about
identities
power and
already
privilege.
exist.
Yeah, and
Power and privilege. It's power and privilege to come down and ask people questions. What if a black guy was standing here or an Asian guy was standing here asking the same question?
identity and representation, right? So if you have been queer folks out here asking those
But how does she know that they're not queer?
kinds of questions, and there was
Well, how do you know we're not queer?
Yeah.
That's true. I don't know, but there's not sort of a representative, holistic, inclusive feeling, especially from up on high. We're looking down and we see.
Okay. It's a question though. You don't need proper representation to ask a question. Like, so is a trans person the only person who can ask this question? Or does a trans person need to be part of their group? And how does she know that there is no trans people here? From what I gather lately, you don't need to actually physically do anything to be trans. You can just identify as something else. So what if one of these 5 white gentlemen identifies as a woman? Then they would be trans, wouldn't they?
This statement being made. We're curious about it. We're also just worried about the harm being done to passersby.
What is
See
the
that
harm?
statement.
So there are
What's
people
the
who
harm?
people who went home because it was so
Yeah.
triggering and
We had some students.
I'm going to try to pause as little as possible from here on out, but I'm getting triggered by these people saying that this is causing harm. There's people in their class that got triggered. Is that what she just said?
From up on high, we're looking down and we see this statement being made. We're curious about it. We're also just worried about the harm being done to passersby.
What is
See
the
that
harm?
statement.
so there are
What's
people
the
who
harm?
people who went home because it was so
Yeah.
triggering and
We had some
activating.
students.
So I
had to
think
leave.
People that went home because the question was so triggering. You're housing a bunch of fucking children, a bunch of babies. Somebody can't see a question and just like either ignore it or not participate in it. Like they get triggered and they have to go home. What? That's not how the real world works.
the end result is
You know you're on film, right?
that is totally fine.
Okay.
There are real people who are really hurt by the statements. I think
What were
it's
they
important
hurt
to
about?
question that.
Yeah,
Because
that's a good
not how
question.
they identify, and so it seems like a really triggering statement to just say there are 2 genders if that's not been your experience. So it's very harmful and very hurtful, and there's human lives that were affected. So I think that's the message we're trying to send is
There are human lives that were affected?
to maybe consider the questions that you're asking or posing before you begin your thought experiment.
No, you shouldn't have to think about, like, that's the point of this experiment, isn't it? It's a thought experiment. He's posing these types of questions to get people to interact with him.
Are you curious about like what we're bringing to you at all, or do you have?
I'm thinking about I'm extremely curious, and I'm extremely respectful. I genuinely respect the fact that you came, as opposed to 7 or 8 of you giving me the middle finger and saying "fuck you" to me. So yeah, so so
What do you gain from this? Like, what is your reason that you just want to cause trouble or like?
Why is that the number one thing that people think? It's only to cause trouble. This is to cause dialogue, to cause discourse between people, is it not? He's trying to get people's opinions on things. They're trying to see what they think.
Why are you here?
so I'm fascinated. I do street epistemology, and I'm fascinated if the people. Epistemology is from the Greek, basically how you know what you think. Okay, so street epistemology is taking it out of the university and bringing it into the street. So I'm very curious. Okay, a sidewalk or.
Oh my god. Come on. But is this a street though? Like, shut up. Why are you getting so petty over nonsense?
You're doing this on the
Okay, if you don't like the word street, you can call it plaza epistemology, whatever. But the idea is you take it out of the university and you see if the reasons that people have for things justify their confidence in it. So this is a confidence scale. We can do this with any claim you want. We can do this with a mayor of the city. We can do this with should the United States be funding Ukraine? I think
That's
it's
a good question.
$800 billion. Should the United States, is it more important to control inflation or employment? And we put people on a spectrum. They start on, let me just explain again. So you asked, so I'll tell you. So what am I going to do?
I think what we're just saying is and I think those questions are thought-provoking and important questions to ask folks in our community. I think what we
Do you though? Because you just shut it down.
were struck by was the statement on the board that it wasn't a question and that there was no context clues for folks, especially trans folks, to know that this was not your belief, but this is more of a thought experiment.
Okay, would you be more comfortable if it was a question? Like if I put a question mark?
Sure.
Okay, I'm more than happy to put a question at the end.
It's a question and not a statement.
More than happy to.
Some type of warning or a statement of like what you're doing on another board so people could walk by and like try and understand that.
Or people could like maybe just ask you, if they're walking by and they see that sign and they see you and they see these lines and people are people have the ability to fucking talk to you.
Because from afar it looks.
This is a thought experiment.
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
what we're asking people.
I'm more than happy to do that.
And then that way it can kind of.
I'm more than happy to do that. I only have one board, but I'm more than happy to put on this is a thought experiment and put a question mark. If I put a question mark, I could. I don't know. I'm worried that people wouldn't be able to see it, but I'm more than happy to. If I put a question mark at the end and then I put another one, it's not really. It is a thought experiment, but it's more of an exercise / game starts thought experiment. If I put that on the end, would all of the concern vaporize?
No, probably not, because we're talking about
Holy shit, man. This man is willing to work with them in terms of their requests or demands. He's saying how open he is to adding a question mark, to putting up a new sign, but it's still not enough. So why do they even bring it up? Why are they even saying that this will help?
real humans with their lived experience and their positionality, their identities, and sort of I might have a very different personal feeling walking by because it doesn't target my
Yeah, it's everybody's different.
identity specifically. So we're just sort of here to sort of advocate and elevate.
Why are there no trans people here advocating? Why are there nobody from that class if they had such an issue with it? I forget, they got triggered, they had to go home, but I mean, if it was that triggering, wouldn't they want to voice their experience or whatever?
Who might be harmed by a statement like
What do you mean by harm?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Harmed?
What do you
Yeah.
mean by harmed?
well, people who have been historically and currently oppressed, right, by dominant systems.
Wait, were trans people historically oppressed?
Patriarchy,
By the
whiteness,
patriarchy,
masculinity, all of
whiteness, and
systems
masculinity.
that harm people who don't fit within those sort of more rigid.
That's why you want a question and not a statement.
Can I also ask, like,
Now, I just want an answer. That's why you want a question, not a statement?
I think a question is an invitation, right?
More than happy to make it a question.
Participate in this conversation.
But that's everybody's choice to participate or not. If I was walking by and I saw that sign, if I didn't want to participate, I'd just keep walking. That sign, just because there's no question mark at the end, doesn't pull me in and be like, yo, I gotta talk to you about it. Like,
More than happy to do that.
You know, you're representing, you know, with your identity, a belief, perhaps especially when it's a statement.
what's his identity?
And so what it looks like is you're out here saying there are two genders, and then anyone who doesn't fall within those two sort of binary boxes.
I'm more than happy to do that.
That's where the harm comes from.
More than happy to say this is a thought experiment. No, let me just finish. More than happy to do that. But it seems that if I did that, that would not be enough.
You might have.
But then
I might not be the person to, you know, again, I think asking folks who hold those identities, sort of, if that is enough. So asking queer students, asking trans students, asking gay students, if you're asking about race or poverty or religion, or people who are.
So you can only ask poor people about poverty. You can only ask other races about race questions. You can only ask trans people about trans questions. What is this echo chambers that everyone's living in? If you want to get people's different views on different things, then you don't ask the people that are within those categories per se.
Part of those groups can really
Or
inform you better
groups,
than I can.
as she says.
I wanted to hear her through.
No, I get it. And I'm just wondering, like, are any of you all, like, trained professionals in trauma-informed care? Like, if a transgender individual were to come to the space and participate, and then there was a triggering response where they needed emotional support, like, are you...
I warned you about this lady at the beginning of this. I said she was gonna be fucking irritating. Trained trauma? Is that what she said? Trained professionals in trauma? Are all of these trans people babies? You need to placate to everything, like you need to be fucking holding their hand and letting them suck on your tit the whole time? Well, I don't get it.
ready to support that? Because this conversation can bring up a lot of emotions, and the people that are kind of working within it could be really triggered. But if you're not...
Those people then shouldn't be working within this. They have the choice to participate in this or not. They don't need to be in this game, experiment, whatever. They could see the sign, continue. They'd be like, not today, Satan. I'm not interested in this man's rhetoric or whatever this man has to say. They don't need to participate. Or they could stand around and just watch what's happening. Because from the other video that I saw, when the people go onto the lines that they've determined from the question, like if they agree, strongly disagree, whatever, he wants to know what would make you move over one line or potentially move over to the other side. So he's not spouting anything like, well, you're right and you're wrong, or there is only two genders, there isn't more than that. He simply wants to know where people land, how they think about it, and then in the end, what could make them both either see the other point or maybe move a little bit closer, more to like a neutral or to the opposite side. Like, what?
If no one's there as like an advocate or support, it could be pretty detrimental to the community you're asking.
Detrimental.
So I just want to like frame that. If you're not having like an advocate there as someone that can like be an emotional support or regulation for the people that are potentially harmed or triggered in this
trans
conversation,
people, I guess,
whether
are
they're
just
participating or not, like
giant babies. I don't know.
To think about and could be a flaw in the system, because you need to have someone to be able to support that emotionally, mentally, and for people's.
You don't need that. You don't need that. People are adults. People can have conversations. People can choose to be in them or not.
Trauma. So if you're not, it's kind of like these people might leave and feel like without any support or any understanding of what they just went through. So
Yeah,
just to think that.
and we know people who are in the gender minority experience higher rates of suicidal ideation, higher rates of anxiety and depression, and like they're seeing messages like this all throughout their lives. And so campus is supposed to be a safe space where everyone can exist.
Does this girl not sound like she's practiced this rhetoric or this speech before? It's kind of just like coming out safe space, you know, like
Really in their own identities and who they are, and be learning and be talking about these really, really important things within our culture and society. And by walking through this community member that we care about that should be in class today, learning about how to take care of their community and how to support marginalized individuals like themselves and others, can't participate today because they saw that message.
I mean, they could, they chose not to. Like, seeing that question shouldn't trigger you enough that you're like, I can't be here anymore. I have to go home. I can't continue learning. You guys all leave the class and go talk to them for me.
Yeah. And that's what we mean by harm. And honestly, I don't even think adding a question mark is enough. I think it should be more of what is your perspective on gender identity? Because then you're opening up the question, or gender in general, right? Because we know that it's not just about identity, it's about who that person is. And by really framing it in the binary, that's where there's harm.
Can I put in like my 2 cents as a non-binary person?
Oh, goodness gracious. The non-binary. Okay. Let's see where this is gonna go.
Cool. I am gender non-conforming. I use they, them pronouns. Do you know what that means?
I believe so, yes.
Are you aware of like the theory of social constructionism?
Yes.
So
I'm a gender studies scholar.
yeah. So I'm much younger than you. These are all, this is all very new.
I'm much younger than you. This is all very new. She's talking to him like he's stupid. Like he can't grasp the concept of what she's about to say because he's old.
Understand, like my parents are boomers. They're in their 60s. They've had a really
Boomers,
hard time
yes.
understanding. So I've had to explain this to a lot of people in your generation. So
From your generation. This is like backhanded insults right here.
you're aware of social constructionism. You're aware of gender as a social construct. When you say there are only 2 genders, those 2 genders are just social constructs that we made up.
But it's not a social construct. It's biological. You have females and you have males.
From birth, you are assigned a male at birth because you have a penis, I'm assuming. You present as male. Do you identify as male?
Are you asking if I identify as male? I identify as male.
Because you were assigned a male at birth. Are you cis?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure where you're going with
Are
this.
you
I'm trying
cis?
to understand
I
where you're
hate
going
that
with this.
term.
The idea of there being only 2 genders is a social construct because we have this idea of being assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth. Now, I'm non-binary. That's something that I have learned about myself over the last 6-7 years. After I was a teenager,
Of course.
I learned about sociology. I learned about gender as a social construct. And I realized that I don't fit into the box of just a cis woman. Okay, my gender is completely whatever I feel like in the moment.
That's complete bullshit. Whatever you feel like in the moment, you can't just flip-flop like that between, okay, she doesn't feel like a cis woman, but then she's obviously not a man, but she feels like a man from time to time, but then feels like a woman at other times. Like, she probably still gets periods like a woman, but doesn't do anything to not look like a woman because she's I don't get it.
I'm not just one solid thing. Sexuality, gender, these are all social constructs that we've created
Sexuality is not a social construct.
within our society, our binary society, where we've decided there's only male or female. So many people don't fit into that.
No, I would not say that there's only male and female. I would say that there is male, there is female. There are things in between where they've seen like XXY chromosome, XXX chromosomes, but I don't think it's to the point where you're like, And there are people with general like body dysmorphia. I get that. They but the prevalence of how many trans people that are sprouting out of the fucking woodwork is insane. And, I think that's why people ask these questions. There's a lot of videos I've been seeing or that have been popping up lately of like detransitioning women, girls who were born biologically women, transition to boys, realize 2, 3 years later, 4 years later, well, I'm actually not a dude, I'm a girl. And they have to now transition back into a woman. Some of those women can't do it properly because they've either like deepened their voice so much, they've had surgery where they've removed their breasts. Some have even gone as far as like full hysterectomy or like making a fake penis where they like take skin from your forearm, and it's gnarly stuff. But and a lot of these trans women who are men who transition, a lot of them don't do anything to transition. Some of them get breast implants, but they still have like penises and stuff like that because that surgery, from what I hear, is not a good one, and it needs to be done like multiple times. Because when they, yeah, I won't get into that part.
And like, why do you feel like you're a man? Because you've been socialized to believe these things are associated with being a man. These things are associated with being a woman. There's only 2 boxes, but you don't have to conform to them. That's just what society has told you from birth. Someone said, a doctor said, this person has a penis. I'm going to assume that they have to be a man and fit into this box their whole life. But why? That's just.
I would love to hear other voices if you wanted to say something.
Engaging in this debate feels useful.
Do you
I don't feel like engaging in this debate is useful, she says, but she hasn't said anything else.
feel that this is a debate?
That's your response? When you say, I want to hear from everyone else.
No, I do want to.
I didn't actually care to hear what you
No, I listened and I'm processing. Would you like me to engage her?
I want to hear
You want to hear from him?
Oh, look at them. He made the mistake of saying her after she had said her pronouns were they, them, and now they're all lashing at them, them, them. Oh, God.
Okay. Do you have anything to say?
No,
I just want to make sure. So this is what I want. I don't want the reason that I'm more than happy to engage you. The reason that I said that is you have how many people here? 15, I'm guessing. No, but no, the reason I said that is because I don't want you to walk away and someone to say you didn't give me a chance to talk. So I didn't give her a chance to talk before, but that's only because I was listening to what you were going to say, and I realized that the classes here aren't a lot of time. And the reason that I switched from what she had, and I'm more than happy to listen to her, is because I don't want people. It's
They just told you their pronouns and their lived experience.
okay. Then okay. So instead of getting
The experience of someone that doesn't conform to what I.
okay, so this individual just told me that, and I'm trying to be reasonable. And I think it's better to have a conversation than for you guys to give me the finger and yell "fuck you." So you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
It's already been you.
Aren't you
so
the
I
guy
think
that made up a bunch of
it's maybe
academic data and
important
submitted
to
journals?
address
Pretty
that
sure
she
that's you.
did, like just address you just called this person a
Okay.
she, and they just told you their gender was
Okay.
they.
Well, I apologize.
Okay, so that guy in the background just said, aren't you that guy who made some academic data? I think this is what I was talking about at the start. He either got fired for something, or he said or did, but he used to be a professor, I believe, at this university. But of course, that guy had to throw in his 2 cents and then keep walking. He didn't want to stay, right?
And I say they.
That's the harm being done that we were talking about.
Do you accept my apology? Okay.
It's the generation. It's a generational, education. If you
Okay. So
and want
Go
to
ahead.
change and learn, that's great. I love that, and I accept your apology.
So isn't it better to have a conversation about this than to scream at someone from the rooftop?
Oh, I don't know who, I certainly didn't scream at you from the rooftop. Did any of you guys scream?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So you guys were screaming and yelling "fuck you" to me and giving me the finger.
We were just saying, please go away. You're not welcome.
No, I said fuck
I think
you.
I said.
Okay. Okay. So
Very mature.
My goal is to disrupt this.
No.
My goal is to disrupt
Okay.
this.
So I understand that you believe I can't remember where that over there she moved, but I understand that you believe this stuff, and we live in a democracy, and other people don't have those beliefs, and I want to ask people if the reasons they have for their beliefs are justified.
That's totally fair. He has the right to do that, and he shouldn't be scrutinized or penalized for that.
This is that experiment.
Your thought experiment, we actually have to go. We're not part of the thought experiment. We're all social workers, and we saw this harm being done, and we just wanted to come here with curiosity.
Keeps throwing that word out, this harm being done.
Information.
And do you feel that you've spoken? Do you feel that if anybody else has something to say that you haven't had an opportunity to speak?
Do you feel like you've learned anything or taken?
But that doesn't answer my question. I just asked if anybody else would like to speak. If you'd like to speak, I'm standing here. Okay.
But I think to Joel's point, we hope that this was informative and helpful, and sorry if saying fuck you hurt your feelings. And
oh, that sounds so sincere. Sorry if us saying fuck you hurt your feelings. But you should really be more concerned about what you wrote there, because I hurt somebody else's feelings.
My feelings.
But I'm glad, because our student who was hurt, we're worried about them.
See?
And potentially many others. And so that's why we came down to talk to you, just because we have a personal connection.
Well, I'm glad. Isn't it better to have a conversation with someone than to?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that what the whole enterprise should be about?
It's not safe for everybody to have that conversation.
Sometimes it's hard to just have a simple
not safe.
conversation.
Well, what? Sometimes it's just hard to have a simple conversation? Hey, babe.
Yeah, especially when you're doing it like every fucking day of your life.
Yeah. This is something we're fighting for and advocating for. This is our job and what we care about,
What we're fighting for.
It's hard to keep all those emotions in when we see someone that we care about being harmed.
And do you think that the best way for people to understand?
All right, babe. You have a good
What is
night.
the best way for people to understand your point of view?
This right now, showing up.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, what? Advocating.
Advocating for the people that may feel like they don't have a voice.
Okay, so the people who watch this, because this is being videoed, do you think that the people?
People converse with other every single day. It's normal. Keep up. Yeah, legit. People have fucking conversations every day. Like, I shouldn't have to have a trans person beside me to advocate.
People who watch this, who don't agree with you, as a result of having watched this.
Wait,
will then
what did
agree
he
with
say?
you?
Hold on. Let me go back.
Yeah. Advocating.
Advocating for the people that may feel like they don't have a voice.
Okay, so the people who watch this, because this is being videoed, do you think that the people who watch this, who don't agree with you, as a result of having watched this, will then agree with you?
I'm not asking them to agree with me.
But don't you want to facilitate social change?
I'm asking you to have a different perspective to understand where we're coming from, because we came down here to try and understand where you're coming from.
Oh, they did. They came down? It sounded like they came down to disrupt him because they didn't want to know what he had to do. What?
Did you?
I don't think that anyone.
Did you really, though?
Yeah, good question.
Okay, but you have to please be honest with me. Is that really why you came down, to understand?
Yeah, yes.
We were
Okay, and what is your understanding of why I'm doing this?
You guys care about how you're.
It's not impact.
What I'm sorry. Well, I haven't heard from you. What is it?
Okay.
I just want to tell you, we don't care about your thought experiment. We care about
The impact.
the impact that it's having on.
Okay, so you didn't come down to understand why I'm doing this then?
We came down here to tell you like what you're doing is harming others.
Right. So you
But it's not harming others.
didn't come down to understand. That's why I asked you to please be honest.
I really, truly do want to understand why this even
Just
exists.
because we didn't want to know how your game works doesn't mean we weren't coming down here to.
So what is it that you understand for why I'm doing this? If you said you came down to understand why am I doing this? No, but this is, you've made a claim. You've made a claim. Right. This is what?
Maybe you'll watch the video and have some.
What do you think the result of people watching this video will going to be?
What's your intent? What is the impact it's having?
That's all we're
What
asking.
harm is being done?
Yeah, now they walk away. The intent of his video is to find out where people land on a scale. the consequence is it? What was that? What did you say? What is the intent and what is the consequence?
The video and have some.
What do you think the result of people watching this video will going to be?
What's your intent? What is the impact it's having?
Okay, the intent is to find out where people land on this spectrum. The impact is to see whether somebody will have a difference of opinion versus from listening to other people or taking other perspectives or hearing what other people have to say. Like, and the harm that is being done is only somebody who's that sensitive to this. Asking a simple question should not be harmful. Like, harm happens. For me, words are not like, sure, they say words hurt, but a simple question shouldn't hurt you to the point where you're like, I need to go home, I can't be at school anymore.
That's all we're
What
asking.
harm is being done?
Anyways, this guy has quite a few of these kind of videos, but like, they're not all about gender. Police department be abolished. Should the police department be abolished? He's had ones on like, I think I saw one for potentially women in sports and stuff like that, like trans women in sports. I don't know. It's good to have dialogue. It's good to have like something to think about, but when people just shut it down, it's sad to see.